Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's Tuesday, so let's have a crafty catch up. Now today, this is the design or something similar, you know what I'm like, and this is what we're going to create. Now I haven't mat and layered this because I'm thinking this is going to be perfect to add to my journal next Monday. I quite like this idea of creating a piece on a Tuesday and then adding it to my journal the following Monday. I've just popped a piece of card behind it so you can see how it could be used on an 8x8 card blank. So again, it's a card idea, but we can also turn it into adding it into our journal. And that's what I like about the minute. We're really exploring how to use our stamps and stencils to the full. Now this design today is answering a question. I had our lovely Irene messaged and asked if I could use the Acorn Dwelling, this lovely stamp, better obviously, this lovely stamp that she's got and she hasn't managed to use it yet. And also it ties in with another question from Barbara, who asked me if I could do something that was more of a design that could go for a male. Because often, I hate to say it, so I do apologise, any of you men that are listening or watching, I'm sorry, but sometimes you are difficult to make designs for. And I do know, especially me, I'm so sorry, I favour the florals. It's just a bad habit of mine, but I just love florals. So it's good to, you know, focus the mind and think what could go for a male card. So I've specifically stuck with male, more masculine sort of colours and gone for this design, incorporating the Acorn Dwelling and also these beautiful hares, the Whimsical Hares. Now this could easily be turned into a card for a child. You could make it more sort of magical. I wanted the hair look to be jumping over and catching something. You could put a number here for if it was a child's 3rd birthday, hang a number 3 and make it look like the hare's jumping for the number 3. So it's nice to give you ideas that you can then, I just want to whet your crafty appetite so that you can then go ahead with it and really, really run with it. Because I wanted to go with sort of, as I say, more masculine colours, I'll move this to the side and just show you, I'm going to use oxides today. And we've got 3 beautiful colours here, which you may not think, I mean, I love grey. I tend to use grey a lot, as you know. So we've got Hickory Smoke. We're then coming in with ground espresso. You knew there'd have to be some coffee and a brew in here somewhere, didn't you? And then Candied Apple. I love this red. Fabulous. If you're thinking of starting any, dare I say, festive designs, Candied Apple. Candied Ab. Don't know what that is. But Candied Apple is a lovely colour to have. Must admit, I've just done a lovely Christmas card and I've teamed Candied Apple up with iced spruce. And you know what? They actually go together really, really well. So those are the 3 colours we're going to be using today. Now, I know you're going to ask me the size of this. Now, it's 16 centimetres. And for those of you who need to know in inches, it's, it's just a smidge under 6.5 inches square. And I'll put that to one side again so I can keep an eye. So I've got my piece of, and this is just multifarious card. And we're going to start, as always, I love a bit of stamping first. So we'll come in with our Acorn Dwelling. And we're just going to use black VersaFine Clair. You could use one of your brown ink pads for this. But I just wanted to, I quite like stamping in black, but again, it would look just as good stamping in brown. And there's a couple of lovely browns. Now, just going to give it a good old inking. And as always, I'm stamping on the side. I think you've got used to my little quirks by now, haven't you? And I've just caught that there. And I don't want this directly in the centre. I just want it slightly off centre. You know me, I'm a bit funny. I have a thing about things being in the centre. So we'll stamp that. Now, while we're stamping, how are things going today? I hope your week started well. And I hope you're feeling okay. I know there's a few of you with bugs at the minute and things. Mind you say that I think every week I make a video. You know, there's always going to be one of us with an ache or a pain or a bug, and I know there's a couple of you going through treatment for various procedures and things, so I do want to just send you a big hug. And if you're only able to watch at the minute and not join in, do you know what, it's still fabulous to have your company. Now look at that. As you know, I've always struggled with stamping. It's just, and so I always leave the stamp on a little bit longer because that works for me. And I have mentioned before, there are some crafters who can literally pop the stamp down and it will stamp straight away. Unfortunately, I'm just not one of them. And it's like I've said before, it's knowing what works well for you. Now, on a little scrap of paper, because I don't know if you noticed, I've decoupaged the bottom of this dwelling. I don't know, can you see? So on a scrap of paper, I'm just going to stamp the bottom bit again. And again, I'm giving it a good old press. And then also, I want the little door bit. Now, one thing I did think with the door, I haven't done it, but you know what? You could cut the door out so it opens. Now, very easily, you could turn this into a Christmas design. Can you tell I'm thinking about festive things? Look at that. Oh, wouldn't that look good as a mirror image? Could put it on the side of a lake and do a reflection. Get your acetate out or your gel press, however you do your reflections. See, there we go. That's another idea for you. Now we're going to put that to one side, although I am drastically running out of one sides here. And I'm going to add my lovely little hairs. Right, come on, guys. Although you have to watch these because they're a bit like those mice. They do have a habit to run off. Now, we're going to stamp him first. Well, actually, I'll stamp the other two first because I do think, depending on, you may not want to pop him jumping over. And I'll show you how it looks with just the other two. And I love this one stood up. So if you're somebody who makes Easter designs, I think these would make lovely Easter designs. And could you turn this into an Easter egg? I think if you mask that area off, you could actually make this into an Easter egg. There we go, that's another design. I think this could be one of those stamps that you could make, use for lots of different times of the year. You could even have the rabbits with some little eggs, maybe having an Easter egg hunt. And again, we're talking silhouettes now, so just let that ink soak into the card. Don't be in a rush to lift it off. There we go. And then let's have our lovely, and this is just almost a bigger version of Pippin, so I love him. I think he could marry well with Pippin. We could use a bit of scale stamping, I think, using the two together. And again, I've just caught my block look, so just going to give it a bit of a wipe, get my inky binky and just... Right, now this, I want to just put him there. And again, he's a silhouette, so just give him a couple of seconds to really soak in. There we go. So that's how it would look with the two. And if you're not sure about you jumping one, obviously I'm going to put him on because I love him. But if you're not sure, just bring your acetate in and have a look. But if you just want to pop the other two on, I still think it would make a lovely design. But I just love him jumping over. And again, you could pop him jumping over the moon. And let's put him here, so he's just, I want to put him that way, so he's just reaching. And again, a silhouette, so let him just, let that ink soak in. There we go. I have to say, I'm so happy with that. That's so lovely. And before I blot it, I'm just going to give him a reason that he's jumping over. Because in my head, you know, he could just be doing it for fun. But I almost think we've got his brother and sister down here saying, oh no, what are you doing now? I think he's just somebody that's always going to get into trouble. Now, I've just dropped a stamp on the floor. There we go. Just bent down to pick that up. So used to filing things on the floor that I think they just automatically go onto the floor. So let's just give him a reason here that he's going to be jumping. I mean, you could put some of the a berry here or any reason, but I wanted to use these beautiful, called the Starlight set. And I don't want to just have one, there's a large and a small. So let's just have a couple of smaller ones sort of dangling here. And let's just catch the edge. I love this traily edge of this one here. Remember, you don't always need to stamp the whole, but I think those three work really, really well. And because we've got the three there, I think the composition just needs something in this corner for that diagonal to work well. So while we're doing our stamping, let's come in with the Flora set. And this has got two fabulous stamps on here. So useful, and they will mix and match with lots of other stamps you've got. So if you've got the new dandelion ones, these add beautifully. They're almost a bit like a smaller version, a bit like a little Diddy cowslip or cow parsley. So I'm just going to stamp a few of these, first and second generation, in this corner. Not overdo it. A few of you have asked me and said, you know, we tend to overdo it. How can we stop doing that? And a lot of the time it's just, sometimes when you think there's enough, there is. So yeah, that's enough for me. But do bear in mind, we've got a lot to add to this yet. So again, don't judge your design when you're sort of halfway through. Just clean that stamp and pop it over there. As you know, I like to just give my stamps a bit of a wipe with Mr. Inky Binky. Now, we'll give this a blot. Oh dear, do you see that piece of paper underneath? I do keep my pieces of paper. I don't know about you. I try and be good and have a clean piece for when I do these, but... And I'm just blotting this because VersaFine Claire's a slower drying ink. I don't want to smudge any of it. But this is sort of how I start building up, and it's just the way that my head works. So we can get rid of that now. I think we'll add some landscape next. So we'll come in with our hill masks. And as you know, there's 4 here. And we're going to start with the flatter one and use the Hickory Smoke. And I've got my lovely grey stencil brush here. So we'll turn it round and we'll just add some gentle stenciling under the hairs. And again, remember you can move it, look. We want it under both his feet, don't we? Well, that's a bit high there, so we might have to, if we catch his, maybe if we turn it round that way. Sometimes it is amazing, you get a different, yeah, because we can go over that. That's not a problem, that catches both. Yep, we're going to go with that. So as always, in my ink and then in the lid, even with the oxides, the elements, I do the same thing. And we'll start under the actual dwelling and then go right across. And again, it's better to build this up. So I'm just going to do a couple of layers, and the brushes are perfect for this. I'm just going to blend a little bit down here. And if I want to see how I'm doing, look, lift it up. Yeah, that's lovely. Just want a bit more colour. So let's just, but I always start in the same place, just in case I've got too much colour. And again, right across with our brush. I like that. So we'll have one that's just angled a little bit. I want to be careful. Wouldn't look right if I angled his neck. So again, no rush. Let's just alter this a little. And I'm thinking there. So I'll ink up, and this time I'll start at the sides where I've got most ink on. It'll help almost give me a frame. And we'll just add these little bits. Yeah. If I turn that round, look, you can see while I wipe this, always clean it before I put it away. And we're just starting to build up that scene. So let's get the hillier one. And again, I want to be mindful to have it paler because it will look better paler in the distance. It helps with perspective. So I think I'll go above his ears with this one. So I'm going to go there. So I'm going to ink up, but again, lightly, and just start on the edges because I want a little bit of grey on the edges and use that ink up. But then by the time I come to the mask, nice and gently, and I just want it gently, gently paler. Now that may be too, oh no, I thought it was going to be too pale, but look, it shows you. I don't know if you can pick that up, just how much there is. And then I want the mere suggestion that there's a hill in the distance here. So I'm not going to go right across, just a very mere suggestion of a bit of a something there. Now, if I bring that, can you only just see here? But it's nice to have that because it almost looks like it's that misty, it's in the distance. And like I say, this is great for a man's card. So we'll give that a wipe and pop that away. And now with our circle masks, let's add our moon. Now what size do we want? This one I'm thinking. Let me see, is that the one I used? No, that's too big. Right, it was the smaller one. Well, actually, I think the smaller one would be too small. I changed my mind. Don't know about you. I'm going to go for this one. Now, if you wanted to almost spotlight the hair, you could do that, but I just don't think that goes with this. I think with this diagonal, and also to me, I'd rather spotlight what he's almost jumping to get. Put my ink away. Look, you didn't remind me, did you, that I hadn't finished with it? So we'll put that, and again, I don't want it to go down into the mountain, look, into those hills, but I think there is just right. Now again, onto the mask first and start at the bottom because that's where I want the deepest colour. But this hickory smoke is just such a forgiving colour. It's fabulous. I'm going to blend a bit down here. Let's have a look. Oh, that's nice. And then what I'm going to do is just blend a little what's left on my brush, just sort of across here. Let's give me a bit of something, just to take that whiteness off the design. Yeah. Right, so I'll put the lid on that and pop my brush away. So that's what we've got so far. And now I think we need to add a little bit of colour. So what I'm going to do is come in with my ground espresso. And what I'll do first is I'm going to blend some ground espresso around the edges. And for this, I'm going to use my little blending tool. Now you can use your brush if you want. I just want quite a deep colour, so I'm going to come in with this. And I'm going to start in the corners, and you'll be surprised at what a lovely colour combination the grey and the brown is together. I'm just going to blend my way across the bottom, look. And then when it comes to the next corner, ink up again, dabbing it in the lid. Start on that corner and work my way down that side. Turn it round. Now, can you see already how lovely that's looking? It's really framing it, but the two colours just go so well together. I don't want to go over my hair. I'm going over the moon though. I want to frame the whole thing. And again, start on the corner, and I'm not worried about going over this flower or light. It could be a light, couldn't it? It looks like it's hanging there. And down this side. Now I've got little bits here, they're just little bits that have come off. Sometimes with the card where you catch your pad you may lose a little bit, but that doesn't worry me at all. I try and just sort of brush mine off. If you've got a spare brush, I do keep a soft brush here. I try not to use my hand to actually swipe the bits off, because if I've got ink or anything on my hand it will end up on my work. But there we go, just add a little bit more at the bottom. I'm just going to pick it up off my mat here. There we go. Lovely. Again, I've just got a bit there. Did it with my finger, don't tell anyone. Now I like that. And what I'm going to do, we're going to watercolour to add some colour. But while we're doing that, I want to faux bleach the circle around the edge here. If I show you the finished design, look, our water splats here. Now to give that time to dry, I'm going to do it now. Normally I would do it at the end, but if I add it now, I know that I'm going to do some watercolour painting, so it'll give this time to dry, so that'll be fine. And my brush is in my water pot as always. Like I say, first thing I do every day when I come in here in my little craft room. A little tip though, a lady did message me, and sorry, do forgive me, I forget your name, asking me about are these safe to leave in a water pot? They are, but for me, I only have the water level up to where the metal is. I wouldn't have the water level in my pot higher because obviously this is wood and it may rot in time. But you've got a metal end here, which is always a sign of a good quality brush. So just make sure that your water level in your pot doesn't come above this. That's my little tip for you for today. Oh look, I've got a bit of a big splodge there. So let's just dry that. And we'll let the rest just faux bleach. Now what we are going to do, where I've got some ink here, look, I'm just going to add a bit more to it. And then we'll do some watercolour painting. Now we're going to decoupage this bit, but I always like to add a little bit of ink or colour to the edges. It just looks better if you sort of see through it. Now I want this quite watery to start off with, and we'll paint the whole of this design. I can add a bit more water because I really want this bit quite watery. I do find this so relaxing, and it's so quick, so forgiving. And while I've got the brown, what I'm going to do is on the piece I stamped, look, I'll also watercolour paint this. And again, I'm just giving, I like to almost do a base coat, a bit of a wash first. And we'll just watercolour paint the whole thing. Don't tell anyone, but this is my cheats way of colouring. But that's just between us. I know I can trust you. And this one, I just want the door, don't I? So I'll come in with the door and the surround. And it doesn't matter if I go over the edges because I'm going to cut it out. There we go. We'll put those on one side. And we'll add a little bit of grey to our mat. Oh, that was a little bit. You're being a bit stingy today, missus. And I'll come in with the grey. And we'll just add a little bit more grey here. And I quite like the grey and the brown mixed together. Remember, you can mix these just to give a bit more of a... And then we'll just, last thing, come in with a little bit of this candied apple. Where have I got a dry bit? Up here. And let's just watercolour paint a little bit of red. I was going to originally keep this sort of very brown and grey, but I just thought the little pop of red And again, with red and orange sort of going along with the brown tones. But again, you could keep this, you could paint it orange if you wanted. And what I'm actually going to do is add a little bit, I need to turn that round, of orange round, a little bit of the red, I mean, round my door, just to add a bit of that highlight. There we go. And then while I've got the grey, although I've probably got red on my brush now, haven't I? So let's clean that. I just wanted to add a few little delicate splats of grey, just to keep the whole, there we go. Right, so I can clean this up. These mats are so forgiving, aren't they? I don't know about yours, but mine just gets everything thrown at it. And I have to say, I love the way that's looking. I'm just going to put my heat tool over it, just sort of to check, give it a chance that this is getting dry, especially where we've watercolour painted. That'll be fine. Now, I want to add a little bit more colour. So for me, I'm going to come in with my pastel pencils. And I don't know if you've tried your pastel pencils over your sort of ink or you know, your watercolour painting. They work beautifully together. And so what I'm going to do is pick up in my hand my brown ones, my white one, and I want an orange. I tend to do that. I find they work better if I've got them in my hand ready. And first of all, I'm going to come in with my whites and just add some highlights to my hair. And I just want to give him a little bit of shape. I just find, for me, it's a lovely way of just giving him, I know his sort of leg and his hind leg there will have that sort of shape. I'll add a little bit here. And again, the moon here will just catch the top of this and that side of his ear, but we'll give him a little bit of neck. And again, I'm just going off giving him a bit of shape, so let's add a little bit on his tummy. And again, I'm just smudging it with my finger. And we'll just get a little bit of that there. And here, we'll just catch these bits and his front, his little tummy. And again, I just want to give that hind leg a bit of shape. But what I will do as well, I'm really into my fine liner at the minute, especially with my journaling. And this one from Lavinia, it's the Unipin fine liner. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sort of extra lines here. And again, I'm not going to overthink it, but also I'm just going to add a little bit on top of this. You see, I'm getting ready for thinking how I'm going to add this to my journal. So I'm just adding my fine liner and just a little bit of sort of zhuzh here. And like I say, all these bits, if you don't want to add the white, again, leave it off. I mean, I just add the bits that, you know, I like to add, but you know, you go off what you want to add. I'm going to add a bit of shade here around, especially this side, around these lovely stones. And again, I've got a biodegradable cotton bud here that I'll just use to smudge, because with them being pastel pencils, you'll find if you smudge them with your finger or a cotton bud, what happens is two things. One, they'll fix better, but two, I think they actually look better. I mean, if I was doing a whole piece, I would spray it to fix it, but because I'm just doing this, not using them over the whole area, again, if it was my pan pastels over the whole area, I would spray them with a spray fixative. But for this little bit, there's no need. So my moon's there, so his shadow will come this way, won't it? So we'll give him a shadow. That's coming right off the page, look. And so we'll have shadow here, sort of this way a little. So we can add big shadow there. And again, let's smudge that out. Like I say, with it being a shadow, it always looks better when it's smudged anyway. And again, for me, that just gives it more life, doesn't it? And we'll come in and add a couple of, make him look like he's jumping. Look, those, again, those little lines just make the difference. Now we want to add a little bit more colour here, don't we? So I'm just going to lean on this and I'm going to come in with my browns. So I'm going to use my darker brown. Trace is shown as where the most shadow will be. So we know this area around here is going to be where she's put those little dots. Pointillism, I think it's called that, isn't it? And then we'll come in with a mid-brown for our next area. Oh, that's no good, is it? I must have not that. Never mind, we can use another mid-brown. And then I'll come in with my lightest of my browns and just add that here. And then with the other end, the end I've got brown on, again, I'm just going to mix those, just blend them. And like I say, it'll fix it, but also it'll blend it. And it'll just add and make the acorn look more 3D. Now I did exactly the same on this. So if I show you, I've actually got one here, look, that I've cut out already because you didn't want to see me cutting out, do you? But if I show you, what I did was I got my darkest brown, and again I just went round the edge, look, like this, and again quite quickly, and then with my mid brown I did a little bit more, and the same with the door, look, and then with my light brown. And as I say, the pastel works beautifully on top of the, where we've watercolour painted with our oxides. So once I cut those out, let me file those over there. This is what we've got. And we've got our two lovely, but as I say, I do think you could actually leave that and open that and put it on a hinge. I think that would be fabulous. So I love the way this is building up. What I'm thinking with my orange, I might just add a little more, a hint of orange there. Just warm it up a little bit. And on here, I'm thinking just a hint and a little bit more on the door. Funny, isn't it? These little things just... And with my signal, my white, just add a little, and you can add little highlights, as much or as little as you want. Thinking a bit on his nose there, a bit up here. I'd like to just accentuate that a bit, I think. And on the stones here, I think it would look nice with a couple. Then I'm thinking the moon. What I love to do on the moon, as you know, I get rather obsessed with this pan pastel. So this is this pearl medium pan pastel, and with a lovely applicator. And let's just add, and this is just, honestly, it adds such an ethereal. Now it might be that you don't want to overdo this. For me, it gives that sort of, you know, I mean, I am thinking if this is a masculine card, may just want to add a little bit of that. Can you see? I'm not sure whether you can pick up. But for me, that just gives, and we'll add a little bit down the side here. It's almost like adding that extra without over glittering it, if you know what I mean. So it's giving that lovely feel. And that's all I'm going to add. I don't want any more. And what I will do is just add, now I'm going to use a 3D glue gel, just because I want mine to be sort of a bit proud. So I just gently shape them with my hands. And again, you'll all have your own ways of doing this. And you'd all have your own products that you like to use. If you want them flat and just decoupage them, your bittity boppity glue, BB glue works very well. But I just want mine to be slightly raised. So hence, you could use foam pads as well. So let's come in. But like I say, there are so many ways that you could take this design. So we'll just pop that. As I say, I like to do a little bit round the edge just in case some is seen. That's nice there. Then we'll add the door. It might be you just want to decoupage one, but I like to just decoupage the door as well, I think. That just gives another... Oh, imagine a little bit of holly round there. This is going to be a Christmas design. Well, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Especially the pound holly, I think would work really well. And that's it, ladies and gents. Again, you could put some white Posca if I'm thinking that festive design. But for this design today, that's how we're going to leave it. So if I bring in the original, I'm looking at it thinking, have I forgotten anything? Let's move these out of the way. But I don't think we have. I think we've got everything there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Like I say, I hope it's given you some inspiration for these stamps and some ideas. And I can't wait till you join me next Tuesday and let's add this to our journal. I've got so many ideas of how I can extend this landscape and make a lovely journal spread. So you take care. Thanks so much for joining me, and thanks for your lovely comments, and also for asking me about, using stamps and thinking of different ways and cards for men. Anything like that, please. I'm happy for you to get in touch. It's lovely to actually spend time with you. So you take care. Till next Tuesday. You be good. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.